Hi, my name is Bree. I'm the founder of Kismet Within You. The video that you're about to see is an interview between myself and a great sister, NubiaiSutton1, who has a lot of knowledge to instill in you guys today.
Raised in Brooklyn.
Yes.
My mother was born and raised in Brooklyn. My grandmother came from North Carolina.
Yes.
And I feel like our ancestors came from the Atlantic. All of our ancestors as African people, African descent.
Yes.
So I got to go to the ocean to give thanks to. I feel like this is what the ocean can do. It allows you to release all that has been in the past.
So basically purify.
Purify. There you go. That's exactly right. Purify. And then get you ready for what's to come. And so that's what I'm going to do at the ocean.
Oh, well, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I took the kids to the beach about 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And they had a wonderful, they enjoyed it so much. And then one of them got taken away by the water.
Yeah,
I was like, don't lay down. He's like,
right.
oh, I'm laying down.
Thank
but
you.
it's wonderful to go into the ocean.
Yes.
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 For those who don't know, this is Kismet Within You TV, and I'm here with NubiaiSutton. NubiaiSutton, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So yes, as I was telling the sister, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, and I always knew that I was here on this earth to teach. I remember when I was sharing with you earlier that I remember moving to the projects when I was 14 years old, my mom and my two brothers and one sister. And it was such a difference for us because we were raised in Park Slope, Brooklyn. But life happens. You know, even my mother was living in Park Slope, we were on welfare. We didn't have a lot of money. And the landlord sold the building. This was in the early 80s.
Okay.
So look how that's happening again with education.
It is.
And we had nowhere to go. So we had to move to the project. And I remember my sister telling me that I was the militant of the projects. I remember when I turned 14 was the year I moved to the projects.
Yeah.
And my mother gave myself the book by Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Yeah.
And it changed my life. I started telling everybody in the project why they should read this book.
Yeah.
Why we are mighty people. We have so much to gain. I was talking to grown folks. So people like this 14-year-old like, what? But it really started what I do now. I feel like it was the beginning of what I'm doing now. And what I do now is I am a holistic practitioner. I help women to heal on a mental, physical, and spiritual level. And I really work with women healing their wombs, which I believe is our uterus, and it is where women hold all of their joys and their triumphs, but also their pains and their hurts. And I want to move us past the pain and the hurt, and to return us back to the days we used to build pyramids. To make, modern time, how do we build pyramids again on a metaphysical level, on a more metaphorical level? And what I mean by when I say how to build pyramids again, I don't mean literally building pyramids because they've already been built. I mean, how do we take our intelligence and create what we need to sustain us as African people in America? That's what I mean about building pyramids. How do we do something that will stand forever, where people will figure out 200 years from now, we'll try to figure out how did these people do this? Like, how did they create? Because those pyramids were not just for show, they were there to heal the people. And that talk about sustainability, I want to talk about that. That's what I'm here to do. So that's what I do. And I have a YouTube channel. I have 21,000 followers.
That's a lot.
It's nice. It's good. And you know what? It's to me at this point.
That's a little nation.
We could change the world.
Yes,
we could change the world. And it's not me wanting to change. I'm open to ideas and thoughts. I just want to be a facilitator of change. And I want to teach other people how to do the same thing. We need lots of leaders. We need lots of healers. We need lots of wombologists, if you will. We need it all. So that's what I do. I do what is my duty, I believe, as an African woman, is to make sure that I bring my people further along than where they were when we got here.
And that's what we need. That's definitely what we need. What took you from Brooklyn to LA?
Yeah, that's a good one, because that spirit, it's first let me say, because I definitely did not know what I was doing. I thought I was doing it, but Spirit was actually doing it. And I remember I was telling you earlier, I was really a unique kind of person.
Yes.
I was very much into what today they would call it Afro punk.
Yeah.
And it was the idea, but it was interesting. I always was this way. Although I like alternative lifestyle as far as dressing in a certain way, expressing myself in an artistic way, I love Afrocentricity.
Yes.
So I didn't know, nobody had rules. I didn't know the rules of Afrocentricity. I didn't know if there was any. I knew that I loved listening to music or hanging out with people from other cultures or that spoke other languages, but I wanted to still bring my Africanness to this table. I don't believe in that melting pot where you melt into somebody else's thing. I felt like, why can't I hang out with you and be me? I still want to express myself as an African person. So that kind of way of thinking got me from Brooklyn to New York. A job I was working in the Greenwich Village, went out of, it was my second job. My first job, I worked in the Empire State Building, trying to be a secretary. Girl, it was the funniest. I am so not secretary, and I was trying. And anyway, the job went out of business, and they said, wow, we're going to pay you severance pay for 1 year. You get paid once a month every year. My second job, I wound up leaving into Brooklyn because my best friend was offered a position in Las Vegas. And all of the staff was from Brooklyn and the boroughs, and they was not leaving the boroughs. And they had children to go to Vegas to start some company that they didn't know nothing about. But I had no children. And my girl said, look, we need more people to come. Do you want to go? And I kept thinking, I don't have a job, but I got money coming in. I've never been out of New York in my life. Why not?
Exactly.
It was the spirit of why not. I call it the spirit of why not. And why not got me to Vegas. I lived in Vegas for 10 months, almost a year. After that, I tried to come back home. You can't live on your own and then come back and live with your mama again.
No.
You know about
I've been there.
You know about it. I was like, no, it's not going to happen. I hustled for 4 months to get money, and I wind up, a friend of mine was in California, and when I lived in Vegas, I visited him, and he said, if you ever want to live in California, you can live with me. And 4 months later, I got enough money, and I moved to Cali. And actually, it's the Bay Area. I moved to Oakland. I moved to Berkeley, but it's still the Bay Area. And Oakland, that's how I got there. I was like, again, why not? Why not be in the Brooklyn environment? And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. At that point, I was living in the housing projects, too. So there was really nothing to go back to. I couldn't do that. So that pushed me to move forward. You see how the project actually helped me to not want to be in the project anymore, and so I stayed in California, and I never left.
The projects are supposed to be a stepping, for those that don't have, it's always supposed to be a stepping stone. It's not supposed to be passed on from generation to generation. You come, and then you move on to something better.
I love the way you put that, because it's so true. A lot of people don't think of it that way. I think of it the other way. And I think you're right. Like, look at some of the most people that we admire the most lived in the housing project. But we admire them because of the things that they did and accomplished. And so, I proudly say I was there, so other people know that they don't have to stay there. And I've never been back. Actually, it's funny. I'm visiting New York now. I went back to visit that project and took a picture. And I put it on Instagram because I want people to know, look where I was and look where I am now. It was beautiful for me to see it. It was amazing. So
So you see your own transformation.
Oh my God.
The brand, because it's been years.
I've been in California for over 20 years. I left over 20 years. So and I'm excited. I love it.
That's great.
I love my life.
What, okay, so, because I've been on a journey recently to eat better, right? Which is difficult when you eat whatever you want to eat.
I got you. I understand.
So, you're a raw foodist, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Raw food. So, California again. I say to you, when you ask me how did I get to California, and I say it was the universe, it was spirit. I realized, because I was not a raw foodist. For those who know what a raw foodist is, it's a person that doesn't eat cooked foods. They consist of fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, some whole grains, but you don't cook anything. And it's really an outlet of veganism. So
Okay.
I was when I went to California, I was trying to eat like I did. I mean, y'all, I was the BBQ girl. I ate ribs. I loved pork. I was a Brooklyn girl all the way. You
Yeah.
know, meat and potatoes. But when I got to California, and it's interesting about life, nobody was doing it. Not the people I was hanging with.
Okay.
I was definitely hanging with people that was from all different cultures. They wasn't. They didn't eat like that.
Mm.
So you know, influences are everything, and look
Yeah.
how they influenced me in this positive way.
Yeah.
So they were vegetarians, and after a while, I couldn't beat them, so I joined them, and I liked them, but I still didn't become a vegetarian. It wasn't until I read the book, "Heal Thyself" by Queen Afua.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to be one of.
It changed the game.
Okay.
I found Queen Afua in California, even though she's from Brooklyn. It was a book
Look
in
at
the
this.
Black
Look the
bookstore.
Brooklyn
All
connection.
the way. And I
Yeah.
said, oh my God, Queen Afua, you know, heal thyself. I read the book, and I became a vegetarian overnight.
Okay.
Overnight. Because I never knew, when she used the black perspective of
Okay.
why we need to be vegetarian, when she went
Yeah.
back to Kemet at ancient Egypt and talked
Yeah.
about the way we used to eat,
Yeah.
see, that was right where I was. Like,
Yeah.
oh, because what I was seeing in California was only white folks was vegetarians that I was around. I didn't meet black vegetarians. I didn't see them. So she brought in the whole culture.
Okay.
And it made me want to be, and how I became a raw foodist is it's called gradually moving forward.
Okay.
Every time
So you didn't take everything out of your cupboard
I
and
sure
out of your
didn't.
fridge
No,
and just dump
no.
it.
Vegetarian meant I was eating dairy still. I was still eating cheese. I was still eating eggs. But I was adding healthier foods to my diet.
Okay.
I started off doing the soy vegetarian thing. Eventually, I realized that I kept growing. And I wanted to, my body said, this doesn't feel as good. How can I feel better?
Yeah.
And eventually a sister came to me and offered me raw foods. And it changed my life. It had me started doing YouTube because I love raw foods and what it did to my body, my mind, my spirit so much that I made YouTube about how happy I was. I wasn't even trying to teach people how to be a raw foodist. I just wanted to tell people how great it was to be a raw foodist. That's how I started my YouTube because of the idea of raw food. So, but it was gradual. I've been a raw foodist for 6 years, but I've been a vegetarian for over 20 years. So you see how it wasn't overnight.
Exactly.
I had to go from vegetarian to vegan to raw foodist to maybe no food one day. We'll talk about that another time.
Another segment when you come back to New York.
Come back to New York.
You come back. A big thing for us black women is knowing how to take care of ourselves and how to take care of our womb and our body. So how do you feel that as a black woman they should go about caring about their womb?
Yes. It's such a powerful and important question. And I feel like first of all, we got to understand that we are women and what that really means. Because I think we don't, in this society, we're not taught what it is to be a woman. We're taught that a woman's supposed to act a certain way.
Yeah.
So it's always this kind of external thing. You're supposed to look this way. You're supposed to wear makeup. You're supposed to, wear dresses. But nobody tells us that a woman is more than what we look like on the external. It's how we feel on the internal. So I think understanding that your reproductive system is so much more than just about having babies. Although that's so important.
Yeah.
It's about loving yourself from the inside out. That to me is divine femininity.
Yeah.
Loving my womb and my uterus, loving what comes in it, whether it's a person, whether it's food, whether it's circumstances. That's it. So I feel like just understanding that this is your gift, and we as black women think that we don't control anything, and so sometimes we over control things. And I think that we do have something we can control. We can control what comes into our bodies, into our temples, into our uterus, and we can bring forth beautiful things because of that control. I feel like gaining control of your uterus, of your womb, is divine and feminine. And that's how I think we should approach it. No.
On your website, you have specials and things of that nature that help teach women how to take care of their
Yes.
wombs and what they need to use.
Yes.
Can you tell them what are some of your products?
Yeah, so you know what? I realized that in order for us as black women to think differently about our wombs, we have to think differently about our entire lives. So I have a thing called, my company is called Black Fairy Beauty Holistic Academy, Ancient African Healing for the Modern System. And I have an academy where I teach these things called intensives, where we go deeply into, so my intensive this month in August was traveling outside of our comfort zone. So letting go of old belief system that says, I can't live in Kenya, or I can't live in Paris, or I don't have the money to travel here, I can never be a photographer, I can never be a dancer, I can never, so it's to say, let go of those old beliefs and know you can do anything. And my next intensive is called Minding Your Money and Prosperity. So they're classes, they're virtual classes. I use video, I use free conference calls to help women to change. And it's called Minding Your Money and Prosperity and Abundance. And it's us thinking differently about money and that we all can have it and how we can manifest it to do good for the earth. So those are products that actually I have. Also, I do one-on-one consultations about your relationship, your raw food, how to be a vegetarian, how to be a vegan, loving your life, being a happy black woman, all these things that seem like it's rare. I want to show you that it's not. So just check out the website, the one-on-one consultations, classes. I probably got some more stuff up there. Meditation CDs, you know, things you can put in your MP3 player, you name it, I have it for you.
That's great. That's great. What do you feel about the future of the woman? What role they should play as far as like from a little 8-year-old to adult and the parents and guiding them?
You know what? Right away, the future looks good to me. And I think that it's a thought process. If we keep saying that to our children, they keep hearing us that the state of black people are so bad. You know, we don't love each other. We'll never stick together. That's what they're going to grow up, and that's what they're going to see, and that's what they're going to produce. I think that the state of black people looks really good. And if we continue to say it and live from that point, we'll have more of it. So I think, again, it's our words. Watching the way we speak around ourselves, about our men. Let's be beautiful about our brothers. Let's be beautiful about our children's fathers. Let's be beautiful about the black men and make them feel so good about themselves. Because I think that women, that's the role that we play. We are the nurturers. We bring forth life. If we're not telling our sons that they're the most beautiful and the best in the world, then somebody else is going to tell them something else. And they're not going to tell them what we would tell them. So I feel like the future looks good when we realize that we have power. I think that black women feel so disempowered because they go to jobs they hate. They live in neighborhoods they can't stand. The kids have to go to schools that they don't like. We have power to change it. And once we realize that our words and how we see our lives, our children, they hear it, and they're going to be like, that's right, your son's going to be like, I'm all that. I can have a family and raise them. That's what I'm supposed to do. You know, your daughter could be like, I could have babies and teach them well, but I also could be, again, I could be a photographer, I could be a filmmaker, I could be like teaching our children that the roles, there are defined roles, but we don't have to live in them where a masculine role means domination and a feminine role means submission. It don't have to mean that. It could mean that we both work together as a team. But women start the process. Let's start the process with being more loving and kind with our words towards both of our boys and our girls. And I feel like we're going to be all right. We're going to be just fine.